Hello everyone. My name is Michelle Lee Garrett. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an assistant director in our university's Office of Strategic Communications and a board member with Center LGBT+. And despite what we face, I am a proud, open, and out queer and transgender woman. I am humbled and heartbroken to give tonight's keynote address. We gather today as our community gathers each year to mourn, memorialize, and honor the members of our transgender family who have been killed, murdered in acts of hateful, bigoted violence. Today is a day of grief, of tragedy. A day where we recognize not only the individual tragedies of each trans, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, demigender, gender non-conforming person who has lost their lives to such senseless hate, but also a night where we recognize the collective tragedy that this day of remembrance continues to be necessary. I dream, as I'm sure each of you dream, of a world where we need not gather, a world where we need not grieve, a world in which those whom we would have mourned are instead beside us, the sun on their face, joy in their hearts, and the full blossom of their deepest truth. Unfortunately, we do not live in that world. And so we gather, we grieve, we remember, and we work for the future to someday bring that world into being. But importantly, today is not only a day of grief. Today is a day of strength. Today is a testament to the bonds of our community, to the depth of our love for one another, to the bravery, power, and joy that is at the heart of transness. It feels odd to talk about trans joy on such a day as this, in such distressing times as which we have found ourselves. Often I worry that transness is always framed in the negative, especially in public discourse. We hear about gender dysphoria, but not gender euphoria. We endure the news cycle debating our dignity and the legislative onslaught against our rights. We hear of victimization or are victimized ourselves, and we gather to mourn. But these difficulties are not what define transness. We are not defined by those who oppose us. We are defined by ourselves. Transness is an expression of ultimate authenticity in the face of compulsive normativity. It is the recognition that the human experience is more vast, more complex, and infinitely more beautiful than could ever be captured in a simple binary. It is the defiance of an unjust status quo in favor of the transformational and the rejection of false limitations in favor of the transcendent, even in the face of all the forces set against us. Transness is beauty. Transness is transcendence. Transness is joy. I acknowledge, as trans people, we have inherited a cultural and generational trauma. Our history contains great pain. Those whom we've lost to suicide also deserve recognition tonight, because a society that drives our siblings to commit such an act because they can't see their path forward is a society that directly contributes and commits anti-trans violence. And for those of us, especially, whose transness intersects with other marginalized identities, our trauma is compounded by the interrelated evils of racism, classism, ableism, and all the many ways humanity has devised to enact cruelty. But that is not the full truth of our history. That is not the legacy we inherit. We inherit the legacy of our trans elders who built networks of mutual aid to care for the trans and queer kids rejected from their homes. We inherit the legacy of our trans elders who threw the first bricks at Stonewall and in doing so ignited the modern queer liberation movement. We inherit the legacy of gender roles that have existed beyond the binary, across cultures, across the world, across history. Our legacy is one of courage, bravery, ferocity. Our legacy is one of power. Those honored dead we gather today to remember are part of that legacy. And in their name, we continue that legacy. We continue the movement. We continue the fight for a world where all our siblings can live safe, secure, and free. I want to acknowledge that I stand before you as the recipient of immense privilege. From the fact that I have not endured the racism that my siblings of color have to endure, to my temporarily able body, to the fact that I personally have not known anyone lost to anti-trans violence. I am humbled before those of you who have endured more, overcame more, and channeled those experiences into leadership for our community. But from my own life, if I may, I do wish to acknowledge one person, share her story, and speak her name. Erica Lily Kreider. I am from the cows and cornfields town of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. While I am lucky it never escalated into physical violence, vicious harassment was a daily fact of my life, especially as an openly queer person beginning in high school to publicly experiment with my gender presentation. But I was privileged. I was lucky. I got out. Erica was one grade behind me. Despite being from the same small town, going to the same school, our paths never crossed. We never met. I only first heard her name in 2020 when a mutual friend shared that she had passed in the depths of the COVID-19 pandemic. She was less lucky. She did not get out. But in the year before her death, she had come out. She transitioned. She shared her true name. Despite that, she was buried under the wrong name, memorialized under the wrong name, lamented as a lost son, not cherished as a prodigal daughter. I saw a friend comment on a post about her passing. At least she got to be herself. In the end. But trans people deserve more than endings. We deserve beginnings and middles. Erica could have been me. I could have been her. But I am alive, and she is not. And so today, Erica Lily Kreider, I speak your name, your true name. I remember you as the woman you are, a sister to me in spirit and memory. May I honor you in the life you should have had. I know many of us, all of us, feel fear right now. I feel it too. Hostile anti-LGBTQ forces have made us the wedge issue in the culture war, seized power, and are mobilizing against us. But more than fear, I feel even more strongly, even more powerfully, a pride that will never be shaken loose from my heart. I feel a strength in our community that those who oppose us in all their spiritual and ideological cowardice will never come close to knowing. I feel a commitment in my heart to work for the future, to work for the world that the trans kids coming after us deserve, and I know you all feel it too. Our community is braver than they are. We are more powerful than they are. We are stronger than they are. They cannot accomplish what they aim to do. It is impossible. We have always existed. We always will exist. We are an immutable fact of the human experience, a living embodiment of humanity's tenacity, resilience, and beauty. We have endured more before and worse, and we have overcome it. The task before us now is to take up the mantle of our ancestors, to listen to their lessons, to keep their names on our tongues and their stories in our hearts, to feel their wisdom and power now within us, and to continue their work. Today, we grieve, mourn, and remember. But tomorrow? Tomorrow, we organize, advocate, and work. For those of you who have the capacity, there are queer rights and civil rights organizations who are building coalitions and strategizing for the work to come on a statewide and a national level. There are letters to write, calls to make, lawmakers to persuade, communities to educate. For those of you who might not have the capacity to operate at that level, or the bandwidth, or the space in your heart, that's okay. There are other ways. Check in on your friends. Talk to the people here tonight who you might not know yet, and build community. Create mutual aid and support networks where you are. Volunteer with an organization on campus or in town that's feeding the hungry or clothing the cold. And if you're still working through your own journey, if you're still figuring out who you are or where and how and when you can be out in public, that's okay too. That is noble and vital work, and that is also part of the fight, and I am so proud of you. Community, solidarity, and mutual care is the foundation for everything the queer and trans family has accomplished. So take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Tonight, we remember those who have fallen. But tomorrow we must live.